Hi, everybody. I just wanted to talk for just a few minutes with you about, well, you know me, it'll never be just a few minutes, but I'll try to keep it low today. But I was talking about what a good citizen is and what it's not. And gotta hear him out. Anyway, I was talking about what a good citizen is and what it's not. And when are we a law-abiding citizen? Because we always put all of our faith in being a good, law-abiding citizen that obeys the laws, follows government, you know? And there's a lot of people that are confusing mask mandate for a law, right? Or mandates in general, or state of emergencies, or executive orders for law. And we have a system in this country that I actually think God ordained, and that was a good government style where the people were in charge of said government, and that we were the checks and balance. We were that check and balance, I should say. And so the check and balance to tyrannical behavior, like let's say from a governor or president, would be, you know, the legislature, right? The legislature is a check and balance. You have all these different checks and balances. Supreme Court sometimes, even though they're the Supreme Court. Their opinions have been interesting over the last 100 years. But here we are. And a lot of you have governors that are going just tyrannical with what they're doing right now. And nobody seems to be putting them in check. So we're being told to be a good citizen. We're being told that's the Christian thing to do. That's a good thing to do. It was funny today, you know, just realizing that the UN was citing biblical, famine of biblical proportions. The UN citing anything biblical. I'm surprised lightning bolts weren't coming out of the sky. Anyway, they're about as anti-God as you can get. But I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about how there was an article today, and it was, you know, evangelical leaders are coming out all over the country, and they're saying, you know, do what the government says, and don't get into the political aspects, but get into the, you know, you should probably go along with the vaccine or go along with the whole COVID thing. And I'm going, you guys, no. In fact, clear back. Let's put it this way: when Herod made a law. If you're a scripture person, okay, if you're a biblical person, and Herod made a law, right, to kill all the babies, right? Well, why didn't they follow the law then? Why didn't they hand over Jesus? Why'd they flee? Why'd they get him out of there? They weren't being a good citizen. There are examples all through the scriptures of very, very bad citizens. Noah was a bad citizen. He wasn't a good citizen. Moses was a bad citizen. You know, they fled. They did not obey. They walked away. There are so many cases of this all through history. And I think something to remember is that whenever we're being addressed as the collective, this is not what our country was supposed to be about. We had a document that was ordained by God, right? The Constitution. And that document was so inspired in the checks and balances system that we, the people, as a check and balance, were always supposed to check the power of our government. This has never been done before. And so when in the times of Herod, right, if you go back into the scriptures, we did not have the check and balances people that we do now. We didn't have that then. So what did they have to do? They had to flee. That was their way to get out of having to render all of the babies up for the killing that was going on. Because when government makes laws, they aren't always good laws. They aren't done with good governance. They're done with tyrannical types of mandates and things like that. Now you flip to this day and age, we do have this in place. And we, the people, are supposed to be that check and balance. A mandate is not a law. A mandate is going around the law because somebody doesn't want to have to go through the legislature to do something. That's why you have a mandate. That's why they had to switch the verbiage and the wording. It's because they wanted an excuse. They wanted you to think that they were still having the power over you. The people are supposed to check that power. You can't be a good citizen of a corrupt government. It doesn't work. And lo and behold, no matter what, there's always like that small minority percentage that says no. In the founding, had the 10% of the citizens not been bad citizens, we would have never had this country because it was considered treason and death by execution. If you were caught not obeying the British rule, we would have not have had this country. So how do I know that God ordains those that stand up to this to preserve freedom? because we got our country and we shouldn't have. We were up against every obstacle and biggest army in the world, and there was no reason for us to actually win the Revolutionary War had we not had the powers of heaven step in to provide some miracles for the founding. So I know for a fact that by saying no when certain laws tell you what to wear on your person or they tell you what you can inject in your body, those are all individual freedoms. Those individual freedoms are very, very, they should be held on a pedestal. We should be fighting for those tooth and nail, not rolling over to let the government force things. You know, today Elon Musk was talking about his new chip with his company called Neuralink. We have all these examples of government forcing. In the schools, they're giving misdemeanors to the kids if they don't wear the mask appropriately all day for 8 hours. They have rooms in which they take the kids and say, okay, I know you're passing out and I know you're having complications from this. Just sit here and breathe for a while, but then put the mask on and go back into class. There are some awful, awful things going on right now, and a lot of things that go with COVID. So you have I call it the moron vaccine, moron 19, because you'd have to be a complete and total moron to inject this into your body. But they sincerely want to force this. In Massachusetts, they actually said that you had to have a flu vaccine to attend school. If you don't think that it's going to start in the schools and then extend out to flying and driving and going to work and everything else, you're crazy. It's all about force. It's all about force. So you, as a citizen, a good citizen, are supposed to fight against that. You're supposed to protect your free agency, your liberty, your freedom. At all costs, you're supposed to protect that. Otherwise, you don't get a life. You don't have a life. They are seeking to do things that are not okay. They are seeking tyrannical behavior right now. They've been doing it to us for 8 months. When are we going to finally learn? When are we finally going to say no to this? And so be the checks and balance. You know, there's a big division between maskers and anti-maskers. Maskers not only want to mask up, they want to force everybody else to mask up. They do. There's a certain element of that group and of the politicians behind that is all about force, all about the collective. You're all going to do this by force. The anti-maskers are saying, let me choose. Let me choose if that's okay for me to do. I want to have that choice. And here's the deal. Here's my final point. The reason they're so forceful and the reason that we have to be bad citizens and fight against this right now and rebel against this and put them in their place, not by revolution, by the way, but by using the court systems. You can use the Constitution that was already preserved and ready for us since the inception of this country. You do not need to fight another bloody revolution. That has been done for us. That has been accomplished. So here's the deal. Why are they getting so forceful? Well, let me put it this way. When they have to force you into something and they have to tell you and compel you and use compulsory means to convince you there's a threat, there's usually not a threat. And let me tell you why. If there was an earthquake today, would you have a section of people protesting with signs against said earthquake of even happening? They don't believe it's happening, so they've got signs down there saying, oh, no, it didn't happen. And I'm talking a big shaker, right? A big something that ruins and just takes everything down. No, you do not. People are not rebellious just to be rebellious. People are not bad citizens just to be bad citizens. We're trying to say, hey, look, people are not falling dead around you with COVID, right? People are not falling dead. So if an earthquake happens, it's a visual representation of something actually occurring that everyone can notice and see, okay, of that kind of proportion. You know what happens? Everybody agrees that an earthquake took place, okay? Might be in a mental institution somewhere that don't believe it, but other than that, the average person's going to believe it. You're going to believe it. You're going to kick it into gear. You're going to be very cooperative with your neighbor. You're going to help your neighbor. You're going to do things for your neighbor. You're going to do things for your community to help get you out of that mess. Nobody has to be convinced. Nobody has to be forced. They don't have to go above and beyond the law to do anything that would tell you had to jump into the fray to do something. People are already cooperative and compelled to do that on their own by choosing their own individual liberty to do it. You don't have to force it. Why are they forcing so hard with COVID? Why do they keep changing the rules from testing to not testing and considering probables and wanting the test numbers to go up, even in my own state, wanting the test numbers to go up so they can prove why kids have to wear masks? Not only wearing the masks, but being so strict about it, they're never allowed to take it off. These are the kinds of things you should question in your mind. Why are they making me want to do this? Why are they compelling me and forcing me? Because if people were dying, folks, you and I, we'd mask up on our own. We would go buy and find a mask. We would go do stuff if a mask worked. Whatever the methodology was, we would go and do it to preserve life because you care about your loved ones. You don't need to be forced into that. Stop being such a good citizen, because a good citizen is usually going to be the Roman. Are you a Roman? Look through history. Look at all the times when all the scriptures, if you're Christian, are full of examples of being a bad citizen. They were a bad citizen because they were fighting for the right thing, and that was their liberty and their freedom, right? Against tyrannical overlords. Nothing has changed. Government can only go one way. So government right now is going in one direction. And if we don't stop it, now that we're the new check and balance people, if we don't stop it in this new form of government, I'm sorry, but I don't think God ordains that. I think that he gave us a special gift that we are not using, and everybody wants an excuse to be complacent. Everybody wants an excuse to why they don't have to do anything. Well, I'm being a good person I'm just sitting here and I'm just going to go along, and that's me being a good person or even a good Christian. Really, is it? Is it? Is that you being a good person? There are abortion laws in this country. There's all kinds of stuff. The abortion law, by the way, isn't a national law. It was only for the state of Texas. The Supreme Court only gave an opinion for the state of the case of Texas, that particular case. The only reason people think it's a national law is the other courts are too, they lack the courage to go up against it. That's all. If we don't fight, if we don't start putting each other ahead of this and our liberty and our freedom, we're all going to end up with forced vaccinations, which they can put anything in them. We're all going to be subject to whatever they want next, you guys. Do you want all this stuff? I don't. Start being a very bad citizen. And start telling these people through the court system and through the rallies and through the instances where you don't wear the mask, tell them by a visual representation of we will not comply. We will not comply. Take a stand. Take a stand. We've been given the gift of I was going to say a century, many centuries. We have been given a gift of being the check and balance. Nobody else has this. So exercise the gift. Exercise the gift. I actually think there's a lot of blessings in store for people that do that, as there has been throughout history. Thanks, you guys. Really appreciate it. Thanks, you guys. Go to katedalleyradio.com, subscribe below, and the videos will keep coming. And really appreciate your support. Go to katedalleyradio.com for more.